celebration, so thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
The floor is yours. Thank you for coming.
Good morning. Thank you. I think, first of all, morning, Howard. How are you, brother? I think that the election of Barack Obama I think historical is almost an understatement. But as it relates to race and politics and business, I think that it is a real sea change. I think it opens an opportunity for the country to really start achieving some of the things that, for lack of a better term or a different term, I don't think there is a better term, but a different term, start achieving Dr. King's dream. I think the mistake is that some of us are saying the election itself achieves the dream. I don't think that's true. I think the dream is to have a society that's fair and equal to everyone. I think the electing of Obama approaches how we can put the right players on the field to achieve that. I also think it lifts not only lifts, it shatters the glass ceiling in terms of achievement for people in the African-American community, Latino community, others that have had limitations, because I think it gives an opportunity for us, one, to see ourselves being able to do whatever and achieve whatever we want, our personal ambitions, and two, as he performs, it shows the world that we can do that we can perform if given the opportunity, and I think so far during his transitional period, he's done an excellent job, and he's picked a very competent staff, a very competent cabinet, and I think he's proven to be an effective leader even before taking the oath of office. How it will play out in terms of the race and political questions around the country, frankly, is going to differ in different places. I read a lot of commentators that say this is the end of grievance politics. I don't agree with that. I think you have grievance politics as long as they're grievances. What is grievance politics? Grievance politics are people that have a grievance that enter the political arena to try and solve that. Just like I was saying to one reporter, they said, well, it's into protest politics. I think Barack Obama was the ultimate successful protest candidate. What is a movement for change other than a protest movement? If you didn't feel something was wrong, you wouldn't be wanting change. That's protest. So I think that he has been a successful protest candidate. Like Clinton was a successful protest candidate against old man Bush. So I think that in terms of the racial aspects in certain areas of the country, you're still going to have to deal with the problem of race in politics. When politics get local, it's very much different than a national kind of race. I think in some areas it changes and it opens doors. But again, I think we're going to have to take that situation by situation. Does it end civil rights? Absolutely not. I think that when we woke up November 5th, the day after the election, the racial disparity in health care was still there. The racial disparity in employment was still there. The racial disparity in the criminal justice system was still there. I think that to announce that that's over is to not do the work to close those gaps. I think that the challenge now is to close those gaps and to use the goodwill of America to say we can get past race in terms of voting for someone of color to be the most important person in the world. Now let's get past color in those areas, and I think we can do that. It's going to be very interesting, though, to see how committed those in position are. I say on the other side of the equation, with a black president, 2 black governors, and over 40 blacks in the Congress, if we can't have an aggressive way of closing the gap, now I don't know when we will. And I think a lot of that is as much on them as it is on white America. And people like me are going to be out there to make sure that they are held accountable to that, so that we don't get down the road 4 years and nothing has changed, and then everybody says, what happened? When I came and I spoke to Howard T, she and I have been at this a long time. I remember the unrealistic expectations a lot of us had when Dave Dinkins was elected mayor of New York. And the whole thing was the gorgeous mosaic. 4 years later, we didn't have a gorgeous mosaic. And I don't think that was Dave Dinkins' fault. But I think that sometimes we can become so happy with the outcome, we forget that you only won the right to work. You have not done the work. And I think that that's the remaining challenge that we have. Interesting what's going to happen in Illinois on his Senate seat. Interesting what's going to happen in New York on the Senate seat. I had lunch yesterday that I think half the Western world knows about now. But I have no idea where all of this is going and who should be there. So I think that the story is still evolving as to where this all will lead. But if, in my judgment, coming from the perspective of one that leads a civil rights organization, National Action Network, from my perspective, that we must remind everyone it must lead toward closing those gaps and closing those disparities in society, or it leads to nowhere. NAACP yesterday talked about the lack of people of color on television. We still have challenges, and I think the challenges have to be met in this climate, not that we just celebrate the climate and not deal with the challenges. All right.
Questions? Anybody? Don't be shy.
Do you think the nature of racial politics and people like Reverend Wright, do you think people like that will still have a platform? I'm not giving an opinion what I think of what he says or not, but do you think that there could be such anger now that a black man is now the president, he is now the establishment?
What platform did Reverend Wright have?
Well, I'm saying,
he was the. Wait a minute. Let me.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Let me answer my own question. The platform he had is he was the pastor of his local church. Reverend Wright was not a political figure. They used his church, the fact that Barack Obama had been a parishioner, to make him a political figure. So I think that Reverend Wright was a religious figure of his local church that they used politically. Do I think there will still be Reverend Wrights having churches? Absolutely. To answer your question, will he still? Yeah, there'll be a lot of Reverend Wrights that have a platform. Just like there are people objecting to Reverend Rick Warren during the inauguration.
Right.
So, I mean, you're going to have religious leaders that have very passionate views that people disagree with. That's the nature of a religious platform. That does not necessarily mean they're political leaders. I don't think Rick Warren says he's a political leader.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Can you speak to the idea now that with the election of Barack Obama, there is a shift in what black politics is, and that there's a greater accountability for newer leaders who are a lot more transparent and open as opposed to leaders of old who didn't necessarily have
give me
that.
an example.
For instance, the whole big thing with regards to, the whole big scandal with regards to Charlie Rango that's going on with tax problems, etc., and how those were able to exist for so long without there being any sort of accountability, whereas now with the usherings.
See, I think in my view, I think that that's almost a myth that is generational. I think that it's individual. So with the questions on Charlie Rango, is that because he's 78, 79? Or what about the questions on Jesse Jr., who's part of the New Guard? I mean, so, you know what I'm saying? I think that it is too much of an easy fix to say that it's generational. I think that it goes, I'll give you an example. Barack and I are 6 years apart. We're the same generation. David Patterson's older than me. So what are we talking about? What does it have to do with generation? I think that I think it's more a question of, I look at it this way. When Barack Obama and I first started working together, Barack Obama comes out of a growing tradition in the African-American community political stream of blacks that could run and appeal beyond the black community. That didn't start in this generation. Ed Brooke was elected the senator of Massachusetts by a majority of whites while Martin Luther King was alive. Doug Wilder was elected governor in the state of Virginia, the South, in late 80s, early 90s. So I think that you have seen a growing movement toward this as you have growing on the side of civil rights. I think that to say there'll be more transparency this generation, I can name you as many people that have had serious questions that are under 50 as I can over 50. And like I said,